Hello! Over the past couple of weeks, I've been kinda curious about the idea Tango had in his Hermitcraft series when he was building the Never Hub to have a local mob switch. And I was kinda curious if his understanding of mob caps is accurate or if my idea here is correct. Since I don't really read the code too much, and I'm not an expert on mobcaps, but I like making experiments, let's perform an experiment to see how things work. Because I don't think his local mob switch will actually work correctly, and in the video that he released today, just a couple of hours ago by the way, someone arriving into the Never Hub actually caused spawning inside there despite the mob switch. So, let's do some experiments. Behind me here, we have two slime chunks. I'm using slimes because, well, allows me to keep everything bright, and that makes for just better video, right? I hope you agree with me. Anyway, let's use some carpet mod magic to set the mob cap to 14, and I will explain in a second why it's 14, and let's get rid of all the slimes. In retrospect, I should probably have used not slimes, but something else, because I actually have to kill them 3 times to get rid of all the small slimes as well. It's nice, clean platform, and as you can see, nothing is actually spawning. And why is nothing spawning? Because I do have my local mob switch here. So the reason for 14 is, as you can see, like the cut copper slab in my hand and the cut copper slab roof over the zombie villagers. Yeah, I had an accident and I kept killing all my zombie villagers to sun, and it takes so much time to zombify those guys that I just gave up and decided that let's just change the parameters of the experiment. The results should be pretty much valid anyway, despite of a lower mob cap. I hope. Maybe not in that case, ignore everything I say, but I suspect the results are going to be exactly the same. And by the way, that thing here is one part of it was in the video that I released about my Mobswitch, and this was part of the villager breeder and the fast zombifier. It's a very convenient zombifier. Unfortunately, I had to remove the breeder because the breeder is broken. We can talk about this machine at the end. I will have a world download in the video description of that exact thing behind me in case you want to try it out. It's a very fast, convenient zombifier. Anyway, so what we need to do here now is that I am going to spawn a bot right here using the carpet mod. It's a carpet bot, and it should be on the block. There we go. There. Stand on the block. Thank you. So my bot is standing on that block, and we can look up here. The global mob cap is still 14 because we are standing in the same chunk. The chunk border is here. I deliberately had the bot on the chunk border here. And now let's see if my idea is correct. So I move away here. The global mob cap is still the same. I just want to see if slime starts spawning if I move away, and how far I have to be before the slime starts spawning, because I am pretty sure that they will start spawning. There we go. I was about here when the slime started spawning. Now, the question is, am I in range of something? So I'm gonna use mini HUD, and I'm gonna set my reference point here. And as you can see up here, the distance is telling me how far I am from the point where I set my reference point, so I'm just gonna move back to the bot. How far am I from the bot when these guys started spawning? Because they definitely did. 100... It's not 128 blocks, it's 120 blocks. That's interesting. How far was I from the slime platform? And I think they only spawned here. They didn't spawn in that slime chunk. They only spawned in this slime chunk. Probably means something. How far was I from the zombie villagers? I was more than 128 blocks from the zombie villagers. I'm not sure what this actually means, but this smells. This definitely smells of 128 blocks being relevant to this somehow, or maybe it is 8 chunks. But definitely something happened when I was 128 blocks from the zombie villagers. So let's try in another direction, just as an experiment. So let's kill all the slimes again. And I'm actually gonna set my reference point to under the zombie villagers, because I suspect it is the zombie villagers that matter. And I'm just gonna move away from the zombie villagers, actually in this direction. And I'm gonna do it relatively low so that I'm still in range of the slime platform, but I'm not in range of the zombie villagers. Come on, come on, come on. Am I right about 128 blocks being relevant, or am I just making things up? I might just be making things up, because this doesn't happen in this direction at all. Absolutely not at all. Oh, no. We got one slime spawning, and I was actually right here. So the distance 128 doesn't matter. I basically just got the slime spawning anyway. What happens if I move in this direction and move away from the zombie villagers? No, not... Oh, no, there we go. 128 blocks from the zombie villagers, and I got one slime spawning. About here, about here. I'm not getting more, so the mob cap is still relatively low. That allows the slimes to spawn. No, the biggest effect was here, and I suspect it was that I was 128 blocks from the zombie villagers, but the spawning platform wasn't. So let me get as close as I can. About here, yeah, and this is where we're getting the slime spawning. If I move here, I'm no longer in spawning... Oh, maybe. But about here, I'm no longer in spawning range from the slime platform, so that doesn't really affect things. So we can definitely see that a local mob switch doesn't really work all the time, depending on how far the second or third or fourth or however many players you happen to have in the area are from the zombie villagers. I guess it would work if you had zombie villagers in each corner, and that would be like all 8 corners in 3 dimensions. That you would have to have a local mob switch there, or you probably just need to have a lot more villagers, and I'm not exactly sure how many. So this doesn't answer the question how many zombie villagers you actually need. I think the easiest way to figure that one out is to just experiment. But I don't think a standard amount, which is 70, or I think Tango used 90, although lots of them were picking up items. I don't think that works. And yes, those zombie villagers picking up items is a huge problem, and it happens all the time. Especially when you're building something and you just break a block. And, well, I'm not in survival now, but if I was in survival and broke a block, one of them will definitely pick that up. And now my mob cap will drop, maybe? It didn't. I have local difficulty relatively low here, so the zombie villagers are unlikely to pick up items, unfortunately. Anyway, let me just show you how this thing works. Like I said, I published this as part of my Mobswitch video. The Mobswitch still works, it's kind of great actually. But the villager breeder is broken because the separation of baby villagers and adult villagers no longer works. And it actually broke in 1.17 and I didn't even notice. I used to say in comments of the Mobswitch video that, yeah, everything is working fine because I was using it, but I was actually not using the breeder. I was just using the zombifier because I had built up a large buffer of villagers in the zombifier. I'm very sorry about that. Anyway, so I don't have a breeder here. You connect just whatever breeder you want, as long as you only get adults in here and drop them into this hole or make a hole here, or make a channel in here. It's easy to figure out. Drop villagers in here. Don't have too many. This should fit about 100 villagers, but the problem is that, like you can see, they're bouncing around. They're causing a lot of lag here. And they also build up in this corner where they stop bouncing around. And eventually they will build up in this corner, start cramming and dying. And, well, there isn't that much I can do about it. And just don't overdo it. If you need to zombify 1,000 villagers, do it in batches. Or alternatively, remove the water here and have a dispenser with water. We need the water to push the villagers into this corner so we can pick them up with minecarts. Anyway, so the way this thing works is that I have a villager here. If there is no villager, well, right, because you're starting up the machine, you will just need to push this button and it will dispense 1 minecart over there. I trade with him. I open this hatch. The zombie does his job, and everything works automatically. Now, I close the hatch because it is not exactly predictable how fast this guy is gonna pick up the workstation. Sometimes they do it immediately, sometimes you actually have to wait a while. I have no idea if that is fixable. I don't think it is. What's actually happening is that you can see here, the villager has his head in the string above. And once he gets zombified, the zombie is actually not standing up in the minecart, the zombie is sitting down, so the head is removed from the string, and that's how we can detect that he got zombified. And originally, this was actually designed to send the villagers into the Nether, and that's why we have this portal here. So when you're having this string, I actually just removed this, and I shouldn't have done that. What we actually need here to be perfectly safe in the overworld are these blocks right here, and like this, there, and there, and there. And this will keep the villagers always in. Usually it works, but sometimes they start wandering around. If we have glass blocks like this, they won't suffocate, and the zombie villager would just work perfectly. Let's just verify that it does, so I'm not a liar. There we go. It still works just fine. But for sending the zombie villagers into the Nether, you can remove the glass or not, doesn't really matter. And just remove this observer, replace this block with obsidian, remove the string, and light up the portal. Should be kind of obvious what it does. And this will reliably send the villagers into the Nether. Anyway, that was the experiment for today. I kind of figured that this would happen. I am still not sure exactly what the mechanics are, and I don't think anyone really knows. But clearly, if Tango, if you're watching, you're probably not, but if someone knows Tango, tell Tango that he needs many more villagers. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a nice villager zombification and mob switching. Bye!